Hello everybody, so in this video I want to share a framework that I came up with a year and a half ago when I was conducting a research project about English acquisition. So in my opinion, this framework paints a very clear picture of your current level of English and your future level of English. Say that you're currently doing a lot of activities to improve and to make progress, and you're asking yourself, okay, I wonder what my English is gonna look and sound like a year from now, or like 2 years from now. So if you're asking yourself that question, this model, framework, set of factors that I'm going to share with you in just a moment, these are going to help you get an idea of what your level is going to be sometime down the road. And if you notice that you're missing something, it's going to give you some clarity as far as what you need to adjust, course correct, change in your activities that you are doing to improve your English. And before we get to that, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. In case you missed the name of this channel, my name is Max, and in this channel I'll help you develop the tools and mindset to become a fluent and confident English speaker. I just try my best to inspire you, empower you to step up, meaning to face the challenge, to level up, meaning to improve, to make progress, to move forward, and take control over your career and life. People who subscribe to these channels are those who want to experience the world fully and leave their mark in it. So if that's you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, why not also activate that bell icon notification thing, so every time that I upload a new video, you're more likely to notice it. So let's get to it. So there are three main factors that are at play when you're learning English, and again, as I said before, it answers the question of what level can I hope to achieve if I continue doing the things that I'm currently doing. So the first one is age, and I know this is a little bit controversial, a bit of a touchy subject for many, and understandably so, because I think we are agreeing in that it's never too late to start something. But if you're going to start something when you're 45, 40, even 35, even 30, versus what would have happened if you had started that same thing when you were in your early 20s, the main difference is going to be time availability that you had in your early 20s. That is just a fact of life, unless your lifestyle allows you for that kind of time availability. And even though I don't want to get into the neuroscience of it all, because simply I'm not an authority on that field, but I'll get into more detail about that in just a second. Now, the other important factor is exposure. Now, you could have absolute no exposure at all, right? Just total disinterest. And at the other extreme of the continuum, you could have complete immersion, like with TV, or even complete immersion, meaning you're living in an English-speaking country and you're fully immersed and interactive within the English-speaking community where you're living, and that is obviously going to be of extreme benefit for you and for your English. So far we have these two spectrum or continuums where we have age and exposure. The third one is dedication. Again, at one end of the spectrum, you're going to have no dedication at all. And from the middle, moving towards the right-hand end of the spectrum, you're going to have someone who is highly dedicated. Or even going to the extreme, someone who is obsessed. And by the way, obsession is actually such a strong indicator of someone's success in any given discipline. If someone is obsessed about something, their chances of becoming highly successful at any given discipline is a lot more, obviously. And you could call it obsessed, you could call it passionate. These words have different connotations. Some of obsessed have this negative connotation. Passionate has a little bit more of a positive connotation, but in reality is whether or not you're highly dedicated or not highly dedicated at all, and you have total disinterest in the discipline, whatever that is, whether that's English, whether that's a sport, anything. If you want to make it to the Olympics as some kind of athlete, you need to be obsessed. If you want to achieve incredibly good English, you need to be close to that obsessed level. Now, these are three factors that I think are going to do a pretty good job at describing your English now and in the future. And so far I've defined what these factors are and how they work, but you have to consider them through examples. So we're going to come up with some characters, with some people, hypothetical cases, and that's going to help you see exactly how these three factors are at interplay with one another and how they work. There are two other important, let's say, forces that also have an important play, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Alright, so now I'm going to come up with a character. We're going to call him Chris. Okay, so I'm going to put on the screen the graphics here with the three different main factors that are going to account for Chris's level of English. So it turns out that Chris actually started learning English at age 0. Yes, he's a newborn and he was actually born into an English-speaking country. And clearly, Chris is going to be a native English speaker. And I need you to understand this case because it's going to give you a frame of reference for how other people that start learning English later in life, how they're going to do. So what does that mean? It means that dedication is not going to be a play at all. He doesn't need to be dedicated or to even care about learning English. This doesn't apply to him because he's going to learn the language as a kid growing up in an English speaking country, and because the exposure factor is already taken care of. And as a side note here, and this is actually quite interesting and it kind of proves in a way this aspect of this framework, is that I don't know if you've heard of some cases of kids that were completely isolated from the real world. They were just kept captive in their rooms, that they were never let go out and interact with kids and with society in general. And these were cases of what their parents were just criminals. They were just evil people and they didn't let their kids go out into the world. And what happened with those kids is that they never actually developed socially, mentally, intellectually. This is obviously an extreme and this is just a side note. Now, what happens with Luis? Let's say Luis is a 10-year-old who moves to the United States. Now, his experience is going to be not exactly the same as Chris's, but it's going to be similar in some ways because he's so young and he all of a sudden is going to have a huge amount of exposure just by living in an English-speaking country. His English is going to be completely native or native-like. Because he's going to find himself in this situation at such an early age, it's going to be a shock in the beginning, and so he is going to have to put a little bit of dedication to get over that initial resistance. All of a sudden he's in an English-speaking country and he doesn't speak English. He's going to need a little bit of dedication and assistance in the beginning, but after that he's going to be able to do it alone and he's going to become autonomous in the language quite fast after that. So now let's come up with another character and let's name her Maria. So Maria is coming from Portugal, let's say. She starts to learn English at age 18. Now, in my opinion, if you're 18 or if you are 50, it doesn't matter. After the age of 12, 13 or 14 at most, it just doesn't matter anymore. No matter what your age is, your chances of succeeding in a language is going to be the same. But there is a catch. It's not the same to start learning something when you're 20 versus when you're 50. And it doesn't have anything to do with your brain. It has to do with the reality of life. When you're 20, you just have so much more available time than when you're 45, 50. I know this because I started to learn English when I was 20. And when I was 20, I had so much free time. It was unbelievable. But if I was starting learning English now when I'm 32, I would not have the time. I would just not have the same amount of time that I used to have before. When you're an adult, you have other responsibilities. When you're a young adult, you don't have children. Maybe you're not in a relationship. That also takes time. So it's different. If your lifestyle allows it, maybe you do have a lot of availability and you are, I don't know, 40, 45. If your lifestyle allows that, well, all the more power to you, but most people don't have that luxury. Now, going back to Maria, she's 18. Now, as for her dedication, we could say she's in the middle of the spectrum here. She's learning, maybe she's going to school, she's doing that, but maybe that's all that she's doing. And as you know, you can't just learn from going to school. That could be of help. You need to develop your own curiosity and do things on your own and be an autonomous learner. So Maria, she's half dedicated, I guess, right? And she has not a lot of exposure necessarily. So what is her English level going to be in, say, a year from now? Maybe she's going to be an A1, A2 level of English that is a little bit, I don't know, I think it's pre-intermediate or something like that. What happens if Maria decides to build some key habits and that allows her to be more exposed to the language through a sort of artificial immersion into the language? And how do you achieve this artificial immersion to the language? With media and with books, with TV. You watch a lot of TV in English, you listen to a lot of podcasts, music, radio programs, whatever that is in English, audiobooks, and you read stuff in English. And so Maria is going to position herself more towards the right end of the spectrum here. When she does that, by the way, that's an indication that she's more dedicated now. So the dedication is also going to move closer to the right end of the spectrum. And now we can say with more confidence that Maria is going to achieve B1, close to B2 level of English. I'm now going to actually use a real example myself. So let's put Max through this framework, and that is going to explain why my English level is C2. By the way, you can actually go and watch my video on my timeline of English learning. You can go to the video here. And also, what is one key aspect that tells you whether or not you have what it takes to learn English to a C2 level? There is one specific psychological aspect or trait that if you don't have it, it's a warning sign that there are some things you need to change if you want to hope to achieve C2 level of English. Go and watch that video as well. So there are these two videos you need to watch next. So I started learning English when I was 18, but not until I was 20 and 21 that I really started to learn English. So you can see how this is a spectrum even, right? So when I was 18, you could say my exposure level was low, my dedication was low. I was starting, right, to learn English, but it wasn't until I was 21 that I decided to start consuming as much English as possible via TV, via video, via YouTube, via what I was reading, and my dedication was extremely high. Now, let's say that this looks like you right now. You now are currently engaged with a language like this, like I was in my beginning learning English. There's just one extra ingredient that you need for dramatically improving your English, and that is time. Remember I told you these are the three main factors, but there are two other forces that are very important too. Well, time is one of them, because what happens if you are highly dedicated and you have high level of exposure, but you do that for 1 month only? You're not going to get too far. But what happens when you can keep that level of engagement for 2 years? Now, 2 years is going to be more than enough for you to make incredible progress. Now that I've explained to you the three main factors that account for your English level now or in the future, would I explain it? And how time plays an important role in this as well. There is another important force too that's also going to determine a lot of the different things here, and that is your L1. Your native language. It's not going to be quite the same experience for you if your native language is Japanese versus Portuguese. For someone whose first language is Portuguese, his or her experience learning the language is going to be a lot easier for someone who has a completely different language to begin with. It's just a completely different set of references. English is much closer to Portuguese or to Spanish than it is to Japanese, and so there is a huge difference in the distance between the languages. English is here, Spanish is here, but Japanese is all the way here, and for that person to close that gap is going to be a lot harder. And so that person's dedication is definitely going to have to be high if they want to achieve a C2 level of English. It's not impossible at all, and I've seen it in a lot of people from Japan and from China that they've been able to achieve incredible levels of English. Now, I want you to look back at your own English learning journey and be completely honest with yourself. Put yourself into this spectrum here of exposure and dedication and your ability to actually prioritize learning English over other things. Like now, currently, I couldn't prioritize learning English if I was starting to learn English now versus when I was 20. When I was 20, I could make English my #1 priority. Now, English at best could be my #6 priority. I have a son, and so things are different now. Think about that and just be introspective about your own journey and think whether or not it's possible to make an improvement to that moving forward. If you ask me, the easiest one with the biggest potential benefit would be improving your exposure, being more exposed to the language, and that is very easy to achieve because all you need to do is just relax and watch more TV, watch more content in English. And if you're looking to do that, a good video with some advice on that is this one right here, which is how to improve your listening comprehension. So go ahead and check it out. So that is it for now, my friends. Leave a comment down below and let me know, does this make sense to you? Either way, thank you for making it this far into the video, and if you haven't done it already, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe and turn on that bell notification thingy, because you want to experience the world fully, and only English allows you to do that, and you want to leave your mark in the world. So you're well on your way to doing that. I'll see you in the next video very soon. Until then, bye.